Barbershop Conversations, 9 Wise Below. Click that link, hit the subscribe button, hit the notifications. We going in tonight. Tonight's Barbershop, we going to double down on what we talked about last night. Tank getting underpaid. Adrien Broner never got all his money. Floyd never got all his money. Al done circulated their money back into PBC, and man, we got a whoo-wee, this shit about to hit the fan. I told you summer 2022 gonna be, and I told y'all fighters this, I told your fans this because I wanted to help. And y'all thought I was being a hater, but now it's about to hit the fan. Okay, I'm gonna walk you guys through backwards. I'll go where I want to go with it. Y'all remember when Al was buying timeshares and building the brand of PBC, and the moniker was free boxing for all? Y'all remember that, right? 2014, 13, somewhere in there. Well, now Al has recouped his money. See what happens when you're a hedge fund? You become the overseer of the hedge fund. So Al, he's a Harvard grad. Legally, he can pay himself for managing that hedge fund, right? Him and the other guy. I'm drawing a blank on the guy's name that was at the hedge fund in which Al corroborated with, and they end up getting $930 million. But now Al is not investing and or paying these fighters salaries. PBC is not. How, Fred? How do I know this? I'm gonna tell you this. How much would you say Charles Martin is making to fight Luis Ortiz? Would you say about 400,000 to be a main event? Right? He hasn't fought in a while. He's a French contender. The max he's making is 600,000. How much would you say Luis Ortiz is making? Max $1 million, right? Maybe 1.1. So let's say that's $1.7 million in salaries. Why is that fight on pay-per-view? Because remember, 8-9 years ago, Al was paying these fighters. Remember all the absorbent amounts of money, flying private jets everywhere. You had the spectacular ring entrances, look like WWE. All that's gone now. Remember that? Now, Charles Martin has to go on pay-per-view to offset his what he's getting paid. Charles Martin is respectfully currently is not really $1 million fighter. Why is PBC having difficulty paying a Charles Martin salary? You know why? Fox ain't footing the bill. Al's not footing the bill. So who's gonna foot the bill? The fans. And fans are gonna fall right in line. Oh, we need to pay. No, at the end of the day, these executives need to start. The same thing I would tell to Bob Arum is the same thing I would tell to Al Haymon. These executives need to start footing the bill when the things go bad. Isn't that what Earl Spence said? Now here's what happened. Al Haymon, I mean, he did it legally. You can't get mad. He's manager of the hedge fund. He oversees the cash flow from the budget from the networks, Showtime and Fox. And 3, he gets a percentage of the fighter's money. And 2, he convinces you to defer the big payments. He convinces you to defer your payments. That's what he did with Floyd. I'm gonna do another video on this today. Floyd got tax. It's called taxation without representation. Floyd is lashing out now, and Floyd wants this to get out. See, I'm just smart enough to read between the lines and understand what he's talking about. And people in Vegas call me, so and they confirm what I've been thinking. Floyd is mad that if you're doing business with Al, you're doing business with me. If you're doing business with me, you're doing business with Al. What is he saying is my money is tied up to PBC. You ain't about to leave me high and dry, and I done invested my money. I done deferred all my payments. I'm getting $20 million a year from you when I should have got 350 for Conor McGregor. I should have got my Manny Pacquiao money. And that is why last year, this time, go check Floyd's Instagram account. Floyd was supposed to fight Logan Paul on Famio. Remember, if you get it before this time, the fight is going to cost you $39. If you get it this time, it's going to cost you $59. If you get it this time, it's going to cost you $79. Remember, he had those cutoff dates for you get discounts on the fight? Remember that? Well, guess what? The reason why he didn't fight on Famio is because of the contract he has with who? Al Haymon. And that's why that fight ended up being on what? Showtime. And what did Showtime do with the money? They reinvested the money in PBC. Floyd woke up and realized what I'm making is keeping PBC afloat. But the language in the contract keeps him. Al ain't doing nothing illegal. Everything Al Haymon is doing is legal. But now Floyd is tied up. He done gave them people the money for the real estate development in New York. Al ain't giving him all his money like he's done Adrien. Adrien Broner has been a truth sayer for a long time. Go back and listen to, remember he went on that rant? I ain't got my money. Y'all paying me like I'm a crackhead or something. You paying me $1,500 a week. And I told you guys, Al Haymon held on to that money to reinvest into boxing because the money is not coming in. They're papering the whole arena. What that means is no one's buying tickets. Look at this past Saturday. Tickets. No one's buying tickets. It was, what, less than 1,000 people at that fight this weekend? And that's where PBC is at, man. They didn't make the big fights when they were supposed to. Al, um, um, Al sold them a dream. Al got greedy with the money. He didn't pay for advertising and marketing and fighter development. Al said, you know what? Shit, this hedge fund money is rich. Listen, I made a mistake and said Eddie Hearn made off like a fat cat. Al Haymon made off like a fat cat. Al Haymon is worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Hundreds. When I say hundreds, I mean two-wee. Hundreds. And you'll never ever know. Because guess what? It's tied up in LLCs. That's not tied to his LLCs is separated from your name so you don't get sued. Oh, he has it tied up in 40 different ways, man. And he's a Harvard grad, and that's what Harvard grads do. Harvard grads, what they say, Harvard's grads don't graduate to get a job. They graduate to take over the world. And that's what they do. So well played, Al Haymon. And now Floyd is tied up in this. His cash flow, Floyd is never going to be broke now. But his cash flow is tied up in the real estate developments, which he's not getting the return he says on it. You know what I mean? And now Floyd has no power in PBC, and his money is invested in PBC, and he's really, really frustrated because when he looks at the grand scheme of things, he has no power. That's called taxation without representation. Remember that in your history books? So he's lashing out. He's lashing out. Canelo, you gave Canelo $50 million and you still owe me? You got to make this make sense. I'm Floyd Mayweather and you're allowing Sampson and Louis the Coopers to be your lead promoters? I repeat that. I think it froze. I says, I'm Floyd Mayweather and you're allowing Louis the Coopers and Sampson to be your lead promoters? And my fighters ain't getting no shine? I have no say-so on what goes on in their career? Shit, I need the office at Fox now. So Floyd wants this to get out. He wants this to get out. Floyd is not, I I don't know if Floyd is capable of articulating it this way. He's just going to regurgitate what I said. Remember this video. Remember what I'm saying these last couple of days and today. So Adrien Broner has been telling us for years that Al Haymon doesn't pay 100% of their salaries. He gives them checks. Abner Mares said it in an interview, but he said it with a smile. He says, "Oh yeah, we get checks after the fight." You get between the lines. Yeah, we get. I'm going to pay you more if you allow me to reinvest this money in PBC. But now there's no return on it because Fox has pulled their money. Steven Espinoza has grown some balls, and now he's standing up to Al Haymon, and he got Floyd tied in this mix because Floyd owes Steven Espinoza favors. His money's tied in with Floyd Mayweather. Oh, this shit about to hit the fan. And all this, if you understand business, and instead of calling me a hater, why don't you why don't you why don't you check your ABCs and see how they're connecting? I'm going to end on this. Charles Martin versus Luis Ortiz is on pay-per-view. Got to make it make sense. And that's where we're at with this. Now, January 1st, pay-per-view. January 20-something, pay-per-view. Keith Thurman. And you know what they're going to say? You got to support your fighters. Nah. Leonard Ellerbe is probably more tied in with Al Haymon than he is before. At this point, that's who's basically paying him. You know what I mean? So anyways, barbershop conversations. Feel free to hit the subscribe button. I appreciate that PBC giving me this information. You're never going to figure out who it is. And I appreciate Vegas called me on this. PBC called me on this. Fighters from Mayweather Gym called me on this. I appreciate y'all calling me. Y'all never gonna know who it is. I'm never giving up my sources. And don't call me say, Fred, who told you? I'm too smart. I'm too smart to fall for that. All right. But just know that I know that I know that I know. Barbershop conversations. Tonight's show is gonna be lit. We got a great show tonight. It's gonna be on this topic. Al Haymon owes Floyd Mayweather and Adrien Broner millions. And now Al Haymon is tired. I wouldn't say he's given up, but Al Haymon is not investing his money. Al Haymon got hundreds of millions of that hedge fund money from managing it. Al Haymon got millions of dollars from getting his percentage from the fighters. Al Haymon got millions of dollars from the network. Remember, he gets his cut from the network and he gets his cut from the fighters. That's good business. You get it from both ends. Al Haymon was great for boxing. He had great intentions at the beginning. I repeat, he had great intentions at the beginning, but he micromanaged and tried to control it and didn't create his own network. They gonna squeeze you and squeeze you and squeeze you, and he didn't manage the fighters. He didn't keep them clean. He didn't. He let them get millions and let them fin off and do what they want to do. Didn't have no infrastructure. It was no lead promoter. And this is why Al Haymon is quiet. This is why he don't do interviews. He can't handle being interviewed like a person like me. He can't handle it. My brain is bigger than a Harvard grad. My brain is, you know what I mean? Y'all see Al Haymon and freeze up, scared to take a video of him. Y'all say, oh, I can't take a, he's a human being. I'm going to pull up on Al at some point. I'm going to pull up on Al, you know? Um, I'm going to catch him. I'm going to catch him lacking, you know what I mean? And so anyways, man, barbershop conversations, man. You guys have a splendid day. Tonight in the barbershop is going to be so much fun. We're going to double down on this, but Al Haymon owes Floyd and Adrien Broner millions of dollars. Millions of dollars. And I'll talk to you guys soon. Peace.